when we first heard about you, and we're going to jump into different topics soon, but when we first heard about you, this was a while back, and this was when you were part of the Young Turks. And somebody brought it to our attention. They said, hey, there's this Armenian girl, and she's part of this news organization called the Young Turks. We're like, bro, stop pulling our leg. What are you talking about? Armenian girl, Young Turks? There's no way that's true. And they shared your, at the time, Facebook handle, and it was Anna Kasparian, Young Turks. And we were like, what the hell's going on here? So tell us really quickly, because that's one thing that we want to talk about, very short, brief. Why the Young Turks?
So I will admit that when I considered working there, the name turned me off, obviously, for obvious reasons. But I did my due diligence. I looked into it. Why is it named the Young Turks? In America, it has a different meaning, obviously. So there were various different organizations that had dubbed themselves the Young Turks. For instance, CAA, which is an agency representing various celebrities and public figures. They had a group of agents who referred to themselves as the Young Turks. None of them were Turkish. But in America, Turks means like rebels, right? Rebelling against societal expectations. Rod Stewart had a song titled Young Turk. You know that song that goes, how does that song go again? Young hearts beat free tonight. Yeah. So, and I looked at the website for the show, and it explained what the definition was. I was still a little bit skeptical because the founder, one of the founders is Cenk Uygur. He's Turkish. But like me, honestly, he didn't know that there was an offshoot of the Young Turks in Turkey who orchestrated the genocide. I thought it was just the Ottomans, right? And he thought so as well. He kind of he liked the name Young Turks because he's Turkish and it means rebel in America. So I watched a few episodes of the show just to familiarize myself, to make sure I know what I'm getting myself into. And I realized it has nothing to do with Turkey. They never cover international stuff. Like, it's American politics. And I liked what he had to say because this is in 2007. This is during the Bush administration. And I'm working at CBS Radio at the time. That place was so depressing because there was no critical thinking. There was no journalism happening, really. And I felt like what was happening at the Young Turks was what I was aspiring toward in terms of being a truth teller, holding government accountable. So I decided, you know what, this is a temporary 2-week position. They just need to fill in because their producer was going to go to Europe for 2 weeks. I'm like, let me just try it out and see what it's all about. And I fell in love with the place, to be honest with you, because one thing that I will say is, regardless of any disagreements I might have with Cenk, he really does foster an environment of open debate. And I did debate him multiple times on the issue of the Armenian genocide. And he never held it against me. And in fact, he was willing to listen to what I had to say. And you have to keep in mind, I think Turkish people, and he was born in Turkey. He lived in Turkey until he was 8. That's when they moved to the United States. He was constantly in this like Turkish propaganda bubble, which I think informed his wrongheadedness when it came to the denial of the Armenian genocide. But to his credit, he was willing to joust with me on this issue until finally he realized, you're right.
It's fascinating. In Turkey, a lot of the people consider the Armenian genocide an event that took place.
You're right, yeah.
They don't consider it a genocide. In fact, the history books in Turkey happen to leave that little portion
That's
out.
right. That's right.
So you have this beautiful encyclopedia of the Turkish history, and all of a sudden the year 1915 is missing. So it's like, all right, hey, listen, we get this part of your history. Where's that missing book?
Yeah. And so when you grow up in an environment like that, where that information is purposely left out of the education, of the, dialogue in your country. And by the way, too, he's dealing with a lot of backlash from his own community about it, because I'm sure there are family members of his who are like outraged that he would have the audacity to acknowledge the Armenian genocide. But let me just say, when I was in 5th grade, there was a girl, Tanya. I'll never forget her. She was a foreign exchange student type situation, and she was Turkish. And I remember once I found out she was Turkish, I bullied the crap out of her to the point where I got called into the principal's office. The principal called my mom into the school. My mom takes me home. She picks me up, takes me home. And listen, my Hayastansi parents are from the old school. Okay. So they believe in beatings. Okay. I took a beating. I did. And I was like, Mom, but she's Turkish and Turks did this and that. And she's like, you are not allowed to hate people because they're Turkish. Okay. That was the Turkish government. That was, the Turks of today, judge them individually, case by case. Okay. And then she told me that during the genocide, obviously, there were terrible elements of the government of the Ottoman Empire, the offshoot of the Young Turks called the Committee of Unity and Progress, I believe it's called. They're the ones who orchestrated the full-blown Armenian genocide. She's like, obviously that happened. The current government of Turkey that denies the genocide, they're bad people, no question. But did you know that on your dad's side of the family, the reason why they survived is because there were Turks, regular citizens who didn't agree with what was happening, and they hid Armenians. And so that woke me up. I mean, I'm like a little 10-year-old girl, but that woke me up and it helped me to understand the nuances of judging people, And so I was able to judge people on a case-by-case basis instead. Okay, so that happened. But Cenk denying the genocide in the beginning was really difficult for me. And I made a decision. I'm like, okay, what's my decision? To basically abandon this place and say he's a bad guy and there's no hope for this guy. I'm done with this place. Or should I try to persuade him? And I never get credit for this, and it's okay. But I persuaded him. And I think that's way more powerful than just saying that Turks are bad people, they deny the genocide, and we're done with it. Right now, we have literally the most prominent Turkish American talking about the genocide on a regular basis, especially in relation to what's happening in Gaza right now, because we talk about how what's happening to the Palestinians is a genocide. And he compares it to what happened to the Armenians. He brings it up. I don't bring it up. He's the one who brings it up.
Why do you say you don't get credit for it? Because from my understanding is you are the reason why he accepted the Armenian genocide.
What I mean by I don't get credit for it, people still have an issue with me working for a company with that name. And honestly, like around 2020, I remember having a conversation with Cenk and he was like, maybe we change the name of the show. Which, by the way, that's a big deal. After your show's been established, it's been around for multiple decades. Rebranding it is difficult to do. And at that point, I was very defiant because I felt like the people attacking me weren't even necessarily attacking me over the name of the show. I felt like they were attacking me for my politics. And they were using the name of the show as an excuse. But the name of the show is the name of the show.
Yeah, I think they were attacking you because it went hand in hand together. Because they were like, she's a liberal,
right?
And she's on a show called The Young Turks.
Yeah.
So, because imagine somebody Jewish works for a TV station or podcast called the Nazi podcast, for example. That's how it came off to,
I
to
understand
the Armenian
that.
community.
I understand that.
Now that you explained the meaning behind the Young Turks, that it's more of the young rebels in a sense, that makes sense. But obviously, for many, many years, people were, you guys got to bring Anna on. You got to confront her. Why is an Armenian working for a Turkish channel? And so that's one of the reasons why you're here. But I mean, you could understand why.
Of course, I totally understand why. But if I was still at CBS, would I be allowed to do a 25, 30-minute segment on Artsakh? Hell no.
No way.
No way.
No way they
way.
would allow you to do that.
I covered Artsakh. I've covered the genocide. I have complete editorial freedom. And that Turkish man has essentially given me the ability to kind of like move up this media ladder, if for lack of a better phrase, and really fully be myself. And he has my back no matter what. No matter what.
How was the feedback from, like, obviously your parents, they're from Armenia, your dad,
right?
Very conservative, or even just relatives and friends. What was the response when they saw you on? Was it first on YouTube or where was it back in 2007?
YouTube and XM satellite radio.
What was their reaction?
Well,
to that?
obviously I talked to my parents about it before I took the job. I wanted their blessing. I wanted to make sure they were okay with it. My parents mean everything to me. If I have their blessing, I'm going to go through with it. If I don't, I'm going to say no. And they gave me their blessing. Like once I explained, this is what the name of the show is, this is what it means, they're like, they don't judge someone just simply based on whether or not they're Turkish. You know what I'm saying? Like they're very conservative, but when it comes to that, they have pretty open minds and they want to judge individuals rather than like lump an entire group of people together.
Did you enjoy that clip? Click over here to watch the full episode and click over here to subscribe to the WiseNuts podcast YouTube channel.